We need some more speed records in this day and age. You need coverage.
Coverage? Oh, you mean them little root weevils that crawl around popping off cameras in your face?
Those root weevils write history.
Many of you know that quote by Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Well, you can, and Event Horizons will give you those truths. So when you're mad as hell and not going to take it anymore from that memorable CNN network, you'll know just what to do. We will draw you in and become your news addiction at Event Horizons. Join us Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time at freedomslips.com. At Revolution Radio. Our world team members are Dennis Fetcho, John Ilias, David Dunger, Halakas MD, Melanie Vrichton, Jim Mars, Carla Harris, John Trallo, Maria Payan, Christopher Husser, DODDS, Jonathan Orchard, and me, your anchor, Dr. Robin Falco.
If you decide not to volunteer, it will not be held against you in any way.
Sounds dangerous.
It is. Very dangerous.
Count me in.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps.
Enjoy your
extra big-ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another?
Extra big-ass fries.
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please come back when you can afford to make a purchase.
No.
I'm sorry you're having
trouble.
trouble.
Come on. My kids are starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener-supported, and as a fundraising promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning how to do everything website all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we do in life, it goes in eternity.
Hello, good evening, good day, good morning to my friends on the other side of the world in Australia. Everyone, welcome to Researchers Radio Live, hosted by Joe Kiernan and Dave Stinnett, produced by our man Tim C. We have an interesting program tonight. We're going to be discussing quite a few topics, some doing with historical research, discoveries recently made pertaining to these matters. We're going to also be talking about some UFOs that we were speaking on last week, and we're going to just continue it into it at the beginning of the show. We have Mr. Charles Lamoureux joining us from Vancouver, Canada. He's been on the program a few months back. He's a good friend of ours, and he's been really doing some good work. He's upped his gear some, and he continues to help out the whole community. You know, the more eyes we got going, the more video, it really helps us out a whole lot. And there are a few key people that we can speak of here just in the United States or North America, I should say, that are really doing some really good work and grabbing some attention, and it's really leading to a little more acceptance, and it's becoming less taboo. The more gear, the better gear we get on it, the more eyes on the sky. Before I take this any farther, I want to bring in Dave. How are you, my man?
Joe.
Dave, crunch time. You got the big spring conference coming on this week, don't you? Saturday's the big day.
And then my summer research field season starts. Woo!
Yeah, man. I know. Well, you got a good lineup. Before we get into the show, why don't you tell us a little bit? What do you got going on this week? Who do you have at the conference?
Well, the conference is this spring. We're going to have Egyptologist Robert Schock. He's going to be, he's talking about, he just wrote a book, and basically the book is saying how solar instances through history, the changes that they've caused and stuff like that. And I think, I remember somewhere there was a story that the Egyptians had written that the sun had gone crazy, so they'd actually used the pyramids to hide themselves because something was going on with the sun. So he just wrote a book on that subject, and he's been diving in those the Yamaguchi structures in the water off of Japan. So he's been doing a lot of diving out there, so he's going to talk a bit on that.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It really is.
And
but
then
filmmaker.
We've actually got a couple filmmakers. We've got James Cameron, whose new movie, or James Carman rather, whose new movie Hidden Hand came out, and that's won a whole handful of awards.
Yep.
We have Rob Skiba, and Rob Skiba is a Bible scholar, but he does a talk on biblical stuff in relations to modern day UFO stuff, and that's pretty cool. And he does government stuff too. That's really cool. We got Richard Dolan, the UFO historian. He's got a new book out, UFOs for the 21st Century Mind. So he's going to be, speaking on that. And then Nick Redfern, prolific author of the paranormal. So Nick's going to be talking about Men in Black and Black-Eyed Children and all kinds of fun stuff. So
that's a really good lineup.
We're looking to a really good turnout. I think we've broken all of our online ticket sales records. So
awesome.
Got my tickets.
All right.
Yeah,
Tim, you rolling
down,
really?
Yeah, I'm definitely coming. Bringing a girlfriend and looking forward to it.
Nice.
Yep. Tim will be in town. I couldn't make it, but Tim's there,
Good,
man.
I'm
jealous. Yeah, I'm jealous. But that's what I get for being this far away. Next time. That's what I said That's what I said in the fall.
Oh, we got it on tape.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
That's all right.
I'm sending Tim. Tim's gonna give me the inside scoop. I think I'm gonna plant a listening device on Tim without him knowing.
Well, I'll have my cell phone with me, so the feds will probably hear it too.
No doubt about it. Guys, we talked about some UFOs last week, as we love to do, and listeners at home, we take a break from it here and there. Not to build suspense for when we do, but we do try to cover a lot of research, not just specifically with UFOs, but a lot of sometimes historical research or biblical research. Anytime trying to reach back and put the truth where it has to be, where we all know there's a lot of missing links in the historical records, and quite a bit of embellishments when research is done, and they kind of fill gaps a lot of times, and we really try to focus on these gaps. We like being gap fillers, if you will, for some truth and research.
Killing me.
Man, but I'll tell you, we got our man Charles, and I don't want to keep him any longer. Charles, are you with us, buddy?
I sure am, listening to all the fun you guys are having.
We try. If we could only get you here more often, your inspiration for our humor.
Yeah.
Well, we feel bad because we were talking to Charles just before the show, and he's been doing some really good work, but he's sitting in some overcast conditions there.
Overcast. Yeah,
that's a good way to put it, right?
Overcast, yeah.
It is Vancouver, a beautiful town. But just like Seattle, I know you guys just get the coverage, man. You get the cloud coverage.
Yeah, it just hangs out here. You know, like wintertime comes around, it just you got one big cloud, it doesn't move, and then when it does move and the skies open up and there are the stars, I'm out there looking for those UFOs.
So tell us, Charles, since the last time you've been on the program, have you made any upgrades to your gear, your filming equipment?
Well, yeah, a little bit. I think when we last discussed, I had a couple of new cameras where actually the new Luna Optics camera. Now I've added a Panasonic with a high zoom, just for regular camcorder, but it has an 80 times intelligent zoom, even up to 150 and 150 times, and it's a mixture of a digital and an optical zoom, and it's just wonderful. I mean, wow. It's a $300 camcorder, and it's just got an incredible zoom and high definition, and it's okay in low light. So, but when I get a bright object, like I did back in March 10th, it really brought it out in the color and high definition. So it's another good addition to my mobile Skywatchers unit that I put together.
That is a really good unit you got there too. I tell you, I mean, you definitely look professional. I mean, that's some awesome stuff you got, man. It makes me jealous. I actually, about a week ago, I showed it to my wife. I said I need to get some more stuff, and she's like, "No, not really." I showed her the picture of your setup. She's like, "What is all of that?" And I said, "I don't know, but I know I want half of it."
But it looks more expensive than what it is.
But it's cool, man. It's cool.
The best part, really, of course, the cameras are great, the night vision devices, but the monitor. Without that monitor, man, I mean, I was always looking through a 2.5-inch little LCD screen, and this makes all the difference in the world. I can pick up the orbs. I can pick up the objects that are very faint initially, and I would never follow them, and then all of a sudden they start getting brighter and end up being a really good sighting. So that monitor makes all the difference. It's a 7-inch monitor.
Oh, man, I know exactly what you're talking about, because never mind the viewfinder, even if you have a good camera and you do have just a little 2 or 2.5, 3-inch screen, whatever it is, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
But when you got a setup like you have, if you're fixed on a tripod, having a proper screen is huge. It's key. You also, when you're doing night vision and things like that, it probably helps you see things when on the little screen you might not really even see what you're filming.
Exactly, and that was the real big reason why I bought it. That, and of course, when I launched my orb tracker, my hexacopter, it's all set up now with the cameras. I just got to do a few little tests on it before I actually launch it for nighttime, and seeing if I can get it up to 1,000 feet up in the air and go chase some of these guys. That's the idea. I don't know if I'm going to be able to chase them, but at least get up high enough and close enough that I can take some video.
Right. So
that was one reason, because the monitor, I'm going to have wireless video with a range of up to a mile. So I bought a system. Cost me a little bit of money. I'm broke now. So when I launch the hexacopter at nighttime, I can watch it. That's what the video's for. So I can see where I'm going at night. I got night vision attached to the hexacopter. And of course, I got those other night vision devices. I need 2 people. So I'm going to have someone else to help me, so I can actually film it away from me in night vision, and I can watch it on the monitor while I'm flying it 1,000 feet or a mile away, wherever I'm going. So it's going to be really interesting, and I'm going to make sure to put some video up once I launch it.
Awesome. Dave, you wanted to get in here. I think I have a problem with Dave's mic at the moment here.
I hear you now, Joe.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Dave, I'm sorry. Go ahead, buddy.
No, I was going to say, just for everybody to be warned, supposedly in April, a bunch of the hexacopter enthusiasts are going to be firing up their hexacopters, trying to drive in UFO sighting calls and hits just to mess with the UFO people. So they're not saying when in April, but evidently they're saying sometime in April they're going to be a concerted effort to
like a swarm
to get people to call in seeing UFO stuff.
Yeah.
You're kidding? Make fun of us?
Yeah, you can probably find it on the web somewhere. It's pretty widespread at this point in the game. It's funny because some kids down the road, I don't know, down the street here, we're in the local park, and I was out earlier this week, and they were flying one of those things. But I mean, it was all primary colors. You can pick it out, and the thing made a bunch of racket on top of it. You couldn't mistake it for, a UFO. So.
Well, I'll tell you, I got a hexacopter, so it's 6 rotors, and it's an intermediate hexacopter, and it makes some noise when you're taking off, but once you're up there a couple 100 feet, really, it could be very quiet. When you're just humming and you're just hovering, you can't hear it.
Yeah, I was about to say they only had it about as high as a telephone pole, so it was.
Oh, you'll hear it. Oh yeah.
Wow.
But you can do so much to it now these days. Some pilots they're putting all these different LEDs on it remotely. They can put lasers on it. I've seen green lasers on it. I've seen a whole bunch of stuff that you can remotely control it from 1,000 feet away, and it's ridiculous. So
that's really cool, man.
We like ridiculous.
Yeah, we sure do. The hexacopter is awesome. No doubt about it. And I think the last time when you were on the program, you had not had the night vision for it yet.
No, I do now. What it is, it's a small micro camera, which is really used a lot for FPV flying. So basically with video, but it's really sensitive. It's got no IR cut filter in there. It's been removed. So it really is, I think it's a 0.001 minimum illumination. So it really picks up low light. And of course, if you have infrared light beam, which I've attached to it, a couple of these strong 3 watt each, which only goes about maybe, I don't know how many meters, maybe 50 meters, which is plenty enough for me just to see where I'm flying so I don't bump into a telephone pole. Yeah. And so I have that attached. So it's not how I would say it, like my binoculars, a true night vision camera, but it is very sensitive and it does pick up infrared light.
Yeah, that's
very
awesome, man.
It's going to be cool.
Well, there's one other question I had before I forget. You were mentioning the wireless monitor.
Yes.
This is interest some people have asked me about, and even I'm interested because I sometimes do wireless signals for the video. But I'm not that good at it. I think I'm just able to figure it out. Like I have just enough know-how with analog video before it went digital, to make that happen. And can I ask, how are you planning to send this wireless signal? What's the best way you have found?
Well, there's 2 different ways of doing it. And again, you pick all this up at an RC, hobby shop. You can buy a monitor, just like a security monitor, but it's specific for RC that already has 5.8 megahertz signal receiver in it. All right, you can buy it just that. It's a monitor. It's got the antennas and everything. It's got fairly decent range. Or what I did is I just bought separately the receiver and transmitter, and it's a 1.3, so it's megahertz. I forget now. What the heck am I talking about? It's it's stronger, and actually it's better because you don't get as much interference as with 2.5 megahertz. You got everything under the sun that's running that right now, so you can get interference in your video. You probably won't get 1,000 feet or a mile with that. But the 1.3, you can go around trees and around buildings and you'll still have a really good video signal. So I bought separately the transmitter and receiver. So I have a little transmitter. It's very tiny with a huge antenna. It's a cloverleaf antenna on my hexacopter. And then the receiver, it's a little bit bigger. And I just Velcro it, or you can screw it in, whatever, on the back of a really high definition monitor that I bought. Mm-hmm. And that's it. And you just connect it to an RCA to your monitor, and your transmitter connects to your camera, and that's all. Straight up. It's very easy.
Yeah, that is very easy.
Can help you put it together. And there's different price ranges. You can get them for really inexpensive or pay a little bit more money like I did, because I want to get good range and good clarity. If I decide I want to go a mile, I will be able to with this. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's pretty straightforward.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, sending a wireless video signal is it's a little more complicated than just sending the wireless audio.
Yeah.
However, someone was just telling me recently that they have they rigged something up themselves and it's working good. And what they're doing is they have a decent camera, a good camera that they set up in a location, and their house is about a quarter mile from that spot. And what they do is there's actually, instead of sending just the signal to a monitor, they're actually sending the video signal and recording it. They're sending the video signal wirelessly, and recording it where the receiver is.
Yeah.
And what they're using is the newest release of the Bluetooth for your phones.
Oh,
They said the newest one, whatever it is, a 4 or a 5, whatever the newest model is, apparently could accommodate a video signal, whereas opposed to all the previous was just audio.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and yeah, that's really a lot. That's really far, a quarter mile. I would think it'd be less than that, but maybe the new one you probably can get that. But to set up,
I left something out. He does have a booster that he was using prior to this, but he was just telling me his newest advancement was this new Bluetooth for sending this signal, and really caught my attention because I had never thought of trying to send one that way before. I've even heard people manipulating certain circuits to send the video signal FM.
That's the new technology now with Bluetooth.
Yeah, pretty cool, man. These are just things I had never thought of before. Trying to send it locally FM. That's pretty cool.
Well, it's funny. When I'm done, with my hexacopter, it makes it very simple. I can take it off my hexacopter, the transmitter it's just a Velcro and a couple of ties. Take it off. I can connect it to any camera anywhere and my receiver wherever I go. And like I said, it's got a great range on it, so I can set up a camera in the woods or anywhere and have my base station with my monitor at home and or at the cabin wherever I'm at and do it remotely. So not necessarily just for my hexacopter. I can use it for other methods, other means.
Wow, very cool. Very cool.
Like Allison wants to do, right? Put a video camera in the woods.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's good. I can't wait to do this. It's going to probably be launched probably this summer. I don't think spring. I'm really busy with work, but again, I still got a few things I got to adjust, which is the gimbal on the hexacopter where the camera is, because it does rock and roll a lot when you're up there, and without a gimbal, I would never get a clear picture.
Yeah, right. That
so
makes
that
a lot of sense.
just needs to be needs to be fixed a bit. That's all.
Oh, that's great stuff, man. You're on a solid path and good ideas. Very good ideas. I'm glad you're doing this. To be honest with you.
Well, if it ends up doesn't work, I still got a toy.
Right. A pretty cool toy, man. That thing is pretty awesome. That thing is pretty badass, man. Tell me, Charles. Let's get to it. Let's get to your most recent video that I find to be astonishing. I'm familiar with your videos before. For everyone who is listening at home, please make your way to freedomslips.com and join in the chat room all throughout the night, including with Charles right now. I'm going to be posting links for his videos, including his most recent video. I'm going to put that link in the chat room right now so you're able to see exactly what we're talking about. So, Charles, I'm putting this link in the chat room for your most recent video right now. Can you tell us when this was filmed and how your night started?
Well, it was April 1st. It was the night of the day of the earthquake in Chile, and it just happened to be a very clear night. April 1st, March 31st, April 1st. I think it was April 1st, and very rare, as you know, here in Vancouver. So I took out my SMU or my Skywatcher's mobile unit and. I just started looking through and I do my regular grid searching, and I picked up this first, actually, before I started even recording, there's maybe 3 or 4, which first initially I thought they were satellites. Well, I knew it was one of those nights I'm going to get 30 or 40 within a certain period of time, and of course there was just so many objects in the sky. They looked like satellites until they start deviating and start changing direction. And I knew it was going to be a busy night. There ended up being about 30 or 40 objects descending into the northern area, which is over the Cypress Park. But this one, I just kept on rolling, and I was just following this certain one because I was getting so many going left and right. So I just had a feeling about this one because it was falling or just descending perfectly over the northern part to Cypress, where they all do. And then I said, well, let me just try this one, because you get this gut feeling after doing this for so long that that they're closer, or that for sure it is a UFO. It is an object. It's not a satellite. So I have my infrared laser, and I just want to point that out. It is an infrared laser, not a green laser. And as soon as I pointed it, and again, for about a minute, it was descending. It didn't blink. It didn't do anything. Didn't change its size or anything at all. And I just pointed the laser right on it. And as soon as I hit it with the laser, it blinked right back. And for me, that's an automatic response.
It clearly did appear that way to me too, because it was an infrared laser, as you pointed out, and if it was an airplane, the response time was immediate, and this aircraft would have immediately not only recognized it but shined a light back directly at you, in your direction rather, pretty much immediately.
Yeah, exactly. And then flight aware, there's no planes in that area. There are rarely any planes in that area anyways. And if they do, they're either on approach coming into the airport, which is more southerly direction, and you'd definitely see the aviation lights, and it's a lot brighter. This was definitely an unknown object of, wherever it's coming from. It responded. It was intelligent. This is not the first time I've done this. This is the third response I've had. But this one was definitely the quickest. Again, for a whole minute, it didn't do anything. It didn't blink or anything. So for me, this was 100% evidence that it has to be intelligent. It has to be something that's, who knows? Maybe it is a spy plane, or I don't know. Maybe it's a spy, but you wouldn't see the laser. If they would, it's
Right.
infrared.
Right.
So for me, it was just, I wasn't really shocked, as you saw in the video, because I knew I'm going to get a response. I just had that feeling. And I know if I catch one, get my laser working again, because I've been using it for several months, because it's been on the fritz, and I just played around with the wiring, and it ended up working for a night, and it's on the fritz again. But if I did this regularly on the UFOs I see coming around Vancouver, I know I'd get frequent responses.
That's amazing, because I was even considering if it was something like you said, so, maybe let's say a drone. Let's say it was a drone, a high altitude, or maybe not even high altitude.
Well, why would they blink back, right?
Right. I mean, let's say it was controlled from a remote location. Just the human think time, the reaction time to actually recognize a signal, turn some sort of a light source towards your direction and shine it right back. The response time is just almost impossible for under human control.
Yeah, and this was far away. This was, to the, I'd say probably, it's hard to say the distance, but, the laser that I have, 805, it probably has about a mile, 2 mile radius on this. So it would have to be within that distance. It could be a little further. It is a strong IR laser, but like you said, there's no way the response time. And again, I was flashing on the left and on the right, and I was missing it. So they probably knew I was trying to contact it until I hit it directly on it. Then they knew, boom, blinked right back.
Yeah, that was cool.
If it was a spy satellite, there's no way they would see it to blink back. So again, this is coming from south to north, and there's not a lot of satellites that go south to north. And spy satellites, yes, usually it's north to south. You get a lot of weather satellites. But again, it's my third time I've had a reaction like this. This is probably the quickest reaction from hitting it. So I really have no idea what it could be. For me, it's more than just a mundane object that a lot of people are still thinking it might be. Oh, it's a iridium flare. I go, what are the chances? I hit it, it blinks, and it doesn't blink for a minute.
Yeah, but that was nothing like an iridium flare.
Yeah.
And I know not all iridium flares are like this, but the ones that I've seen, usually when they flare up like that, that's usually when you lose sight of them. They're like flaring up, and then I really don't see them that much longer after that. But yours was still quite visible.
Yeah, and then it just kept on going until I lost it over the mountain. So I just stopped recording because it's the typical, descent over the area. And again, that night there was 30 or 40 of them, and they come from all directions. Again, continuing on that film, on that video. Some were flashing. Maybe a couple could have been satellites. I never checked on Heavens Above on some of them. The ones that I'm really, I want to make 100% certain it's not a satellite, I will check. But it was a crazy, crazy night. I have like 12 videos more here. I just didn't post them because they all look very much the same. But I didn't use my laser on them because it went on the fritz after this one. So it was one of those nights. It was crazy. And it was interesting that night as well. The orbs were flying around like crazy. One that went right by my balcony did one of those little stops and hello, and does a little twirl and then zips off again. Of course, I didn't have time to record, but that would have been beautiful. So that night, there's 30 or 40 objects coming from this, from all directions and descending exactly in the north over Cypress Park. And then the orbs came out. I saw 3 or 4 orbs, and then they all disappeared after about 30, 40 minutes, which is really cool. You had all this action, and all of a sudden, nothing for 30, 40 minutes after that.
Wow. So when you usually see these orbs like this, do you usually see them in a multiple account, or is it usually just one here, one there, or is there something that says, you know what, tonight's go time?
Well, it's rare. It's not very often I'll see the multiple 30 or 40 in a 40-minute period or a half an hour period, but they do come like that. I've seen them more and more now. They're coming all at once, like a fleet. And I'm just looking at a small part of the sky. I'm looking at, I'm thinking about 20% of the sky where I'm looking at from my balcony. And I'm just one camera that does a grid search. I go up and down, left and right, and I don't have any mathematical equation here how I do check the skies. I just make sure, go up and down, and I see something moving, I start recording. So I can just imagine if you had 10 cameras out there looking at 50% of the sky, how many objects would probably be coming down in that 30 40 minute period. That's why I'd like to get a lot of people out here to do some sky watching, and I'm going to get up to that mountain and get at least halfway up, which is about 5 miles from me. And I know that they keep on going directly over that mountain range into the Cypress Park region. I'm going to get a lot closer shots. And again, having my hexacopter, if I find a nice clearing, I can get over that mountain, going over 1,000 feet, and get some video. So this is my objective and goals for this summer.
Hey, Charles, I got a question for you. This is Tim. From the videos that, I've seen a lot of your videos, it's difficult to really tell the size of what, how big these objects really are. Any idea, is there any way to really tell from the distance that you have by the brightness, either the shape or the size of these objects?
The only one I can tell, I don't know if you saw the one video that I had. There was a spinning, wobbling one. It looked like it had a hole in the middle. Mm-hmm. That one was really close. That's probably the closest UFO I spotted. That was craft size. It was big enough that I can't say it was a 5 feet or 3 foot orb that zooms around my condo. This was a big object, so it's hard to tell. And really sometimes it's hard to tell if these are just the 3 or 4 footers that are just descending from high up in the sky, maybe a few thousand feet, and they're bright, and I can pick them up with night vision, or night vision's the only thing that can pick them up. So you know what? It's hard. I can't really answer that question except that they vary. They vary in size and shape. But I've been seeing lately.
Yeah, that wobbler was that was very curious video, no doubt about that.
Yeah,
I loved it.
And the raw film, which I don't have on YouTube, it's almost 20 minutes long, and it's very, very. You can tell. From the starting of filming it, it does circle the downtown 2.5 times, and then it just takes off. It picks up speed, and it just goes off in one beeline. About 30 seconds later, then I lost it over the condo. So it's not been drifted by any wind. It wasn't anything else like that, which one person said that's really well known in the UFO community, said it's a disc, illuminated disc on a helium balloon. I just couldn't believe him. I won't mention his name, but he's really well known in the industry. And I just laughed at him, and I couldn't believe he made that kind of statement. And this thing was spinning. It was a craft. This thing was 20 minutes up there in the sky circling the city. And I looked at it with binoculars. It was very bright. It was like a white with a blue hue to it around it. It was really odd looking. And of course, you can't get that picked up with a night vision device. It's only black and white. And I wish I had my Luna, which is the colored night vision, because it would have showed more detail of color.
Yeah, that is really cool, that Luna you got. I have not worked with that yet, but what a step up that would be for me. And
it's great when you have a little bit of light, a little bit of if you have a lot of stars out, and it really picks up the stars and the colors. Distant stars are pinkish, the real close stars and the planets that come out are really strong blue. Of course, it's false color, but strong light. It almost works like a thermal device, because how I use it, if it's really bright and it's really hot and strong, it'll come out really blue.
Yeah.
And if it's really far away, it's cool. It's not very bright. It's a pinkish orange. And if I get a yellow, which is a true yellow, it's not really in the spectrum of the color, which second or third video on my channel. Some people saying it was a bird and anything, but no, it was the movement of my camera, and it's a CMOS sensor as well. So faster objects will look like jello a little bit, but it was a yellow object that was speeding past way out there in the sky. So birds are not yellow. Even with the pollution, the light pollution, it'll make it more of a pinkish or an orange, which I see, and I got a lot of videos on my Luna showing the birds far out there, and they're orangish. But this thing was a pretty bright yellow. So yeah, there's been some really interesting objects lately. It's increasing, and again, I've only been out there 4 or 5 times this winter, maybe a little bit more. And there's been a whole bunch of activity every time I've been out. I mean, it's like I'm still getting over April 1st how busy it was.
Charles, are you hearing from anyone else around town who's seeing or trying to capture the same things?
There's not a lot of me out here.
No, huh?
No, there's I don't think there's anybody that I know that has night vision devices that are actually going out there and taking the time to do sky watching. I know there's a John Kelly. He's very well known as well in the industry. He has a night vision out once in a while, and he does spot. He's not far away from me, so sometimes I give him a call or Facebook him or email him. Say, listen, it's a busy night. Get out your night vision, and he has the same view as I do, but further off, and he will pick up similar objects as I do. But that's the only person that I know of. I'd love to know if there's other people that have or doing what I'm doing, but I don't think so. I really don't. I think it's just you're one-of-the-mill kind of guy outside. He sees an object in the sky and he films it with his iPhone or a video camera or camcorder.
Yep. We got a whole bunch of those people, but but it's getting better. It is, in my opinion, it is because there's more people are aware and more people want to capture it. Very slowly. They're catching on, and it usually takes seeing something pretty cool once or twice before they get their blood pumping to go out and invest in a decent camera.
Well, shows like this really help a lot, and and on YouTube, and people that send it on their on their Facebook pages and stuff, and that really helps because I am getting a lot of people from the local area interested in purchasing night vision devices and learning a little bit more about the UFOs and objects in the sky. And now I tell them not all of them are. It takes you a while to get used to it because you will be filming a lot of satellites and you will be filming birds or bats. And it takes a while to get used to what's out there in the night sky with the night vision device if you haven't done it.
It sure does.
But it's picking up, no doubt.
Yeah, it's always good to have a lot of people pointing stuff in the air, filming it. Yeah.
It really is, and I'm glad it's catching on. I'm seeing it in a few places, and even here where I am, it's getting pretty comfortable, in a good way. That people are ambitious, and it's really you're really not outcast so much for speaking about it. And I remember just a number of years ago, I'm sure you do too, Dave. You almost had to be quite cautious who you brought it up to, and I know it still is today, but not so much.
You still get stigmatized by it, and you'd figure by now it wouldn't be like that, but it's still like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we both have friends, and Charles probably knows, basically who I would be referring to. But you do get some of these newbies in, and they will be filming everything that flies around in the sky, and they'll be calling it a UFO. And we're like, listen, that's not a UFO, that's a plane. We all know that. And they get really carried away with it, and it's just like, somebody needs to dial him down because he's posting like 10,000 flying saucer videos a week, and none of them are flying saucers. He may have one out of the batch that
that might
raise an eyebrow, but
well,
you get a lot of
and that's it's awful when those and there's a lot of people that are doing that, and they want to get into it. They're so hyped about it, and they want to see one so badly. So like you said, they think everything they're seeing is a UFO, and you kind of want to say, okay, this you got to stop this, but at the same time you want them to keep on looking because you want them to get involved, but they keep on filming planes. They're going to miss out on the UFOs.
Right.
And Charles has a point too, is that you do get a feel for them for a while. I mean, people kind of ask how do you know, and it's just like, You know, when you were a kid and you'd say to your dad while you're fishing, "How do I know when I have a fish on?" And he's like, "Oh, you'll know." You know, it's one of those things. When you come across one, you won't have any any doubts that you've come across one.
No, that's exactly it. And 3 years ago, when I was pointing at this one object, I flashed the IR light on the laser. I would have thought, okay, that's a satellite. But you just get a good gut feeling, going, no, 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 no. I know what this is. Just the way it moves, the way it looks. It's hard to explain when someone that's just starting is new into it. They would think, and that's why you get a lot of people that view my video. Some of them to go, that's a satellite, or that's that, and this, that, and they go, have you ever looked at any with a night vision device, or have you looked at a satellite? And none of them have. They just read about it and hear about it. It's like, well, there you go. And you can't really discuss or dispute anything with them because they don't know any better. It's not their fault, but it gets frustrating, no doubt. But for the people that are like yourselves, that are used to seeing this stuff, you know very well that this is unusual. This is an unusual object. Yes, this is something that flashed back. It's not a satellite. It's not a plane. Planes don't look like that. They don't. So that's refreshing. But at the same time, we need to get a whole bunch of other people involved.
Right on.
We're all looking and we're all observing, and we all can share. But I'd love to have a dozen people here in the Lower Mainland of Vancouver out searching together, with their night vision devices. I don't know if the prices came down on the devices, if that would help. I think it has to be the interest level.
Yeah, maybe a bit of both. But
yeah,
I like where you're going with the thoughts on it, though. I mean, that's for some people, that's what it's all about. I know a few people that want to do just what you said. They want to go out and they want to film, but unfortunately, they don't have anyone to go with. So it usually would be a solo mission to somewhere, and they don't want to go sit around all by themselves for a few hours. And I understand that. Yeah. I understand. So it does take sometimes getting a few people together, and so there's a lot of people that want to do these things, but they don't know the first thing about cameras either. And so,
there's a good possibility that somebody listening right now is in that area where you hail from, Charles, and they could always contact you on your YouTube page.
Oh yeah, and it happens, that I have had that in the past, and nothing against. Well, I've been to a couple of this. What's happening now in Vancouver is that we used to have UFO meetings, and I've attended a couple, and now they stopped that. Well, they still have it, but it's a gentleman that's now taken on the CSETI, or the what's the Dr. Greer's 5 thingamajig? I'm trying to forget it.
Oh.
And it's all about that, and it's all about meditating and everything. And there's groups of people who are getting involved in the whole meditation thing to bring in UFOs. And I just can't go to those because I haven't meditated, and I see a lot of UFOs.
I don't blame you.
And I mean, that's like 90% of their time is meditating. And I go, guys, let me get my scope up there. Let's look at UFOs. And so I don't go to those events, and I'm trying to sway them away from that. But again, I'm not going to go and step on anybody's toes and a program that they're starting, and that's fine. That's their thing. But that seems to be the only thing I know of that's going on right now. Mm-hmm. I'd like to get a lot of people together, and I'll bring out my stuff, my equipment. I got 3 cameras. I got a big video monitor that a lot of people can see, so they can have a look at it. So if anybody's listening or in Vancouver, I'd be happy to do that. Send me an email, or connect with me on YouTube, because I'm open to that, because I'm going to be all around the Lower Mainland, on the mountain, Seymour, Grouse, Cypress, where they all descend way behind that. My true dream and goal, if we had tons of money, if we had some, buddy that had a lot of money to volunteer and come out here and get a group together and go behind in Cypress Park. It's a 2-day hike, and you gotta, you gotta hike in there. And I know this is where they're descending. There's a lot of people have gone through this. It's a 2 or 3 day hike, and there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings in this area.
Oh yeah.
And you don't get a lot of people going there, so it's very, very how would I put that? I'd say maybe about 2 or 3 people every 2 or 3 months will go down this trail.
Wow.
Hey Charles.
Yeah.
Hey Charles, there was an article that came up sometime this week, but it said there was an alien face. It was a Google Earth discovery, but if you Google alien face on mountain in Canada, you'll see the picture, but it doesn't look like an alien, but it definitely looks like an Indian. From whatever.
Oh, it's the Indian head. That's the chief.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to look at it, but that's yeah, it's on a canyon. It's on a way. That's exactly the area where that's just on the northwestern side of Cypress Park on the way to Whistler. And you can come across that. If I'm thinking it's the same one, the chief said there. It's on a big side of the canyon. Is that the one?
Yeah, I believe so.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a very cool picture, and you're like, yeah, that's yeah.
You'll send it to me, and I'll tell you.
It's better than most of the Mars faces, you know. So.
But it is an Indian chief, and there's a long story behind that with the local Aboriginals that believe in this chief, and there's a lot of spiritual stuff. I mean, that's a whole different hour here to talk about.
I mean, you've had civilization on throughout your area at least 10,000 years too. You know, we've had
absolutely. There's a lot of history here, and there's a lot of history of and I just got an email from someone local that and I didn't know about that this whole area of Cypress Park in Seymour and Grouse Mountain, where there's ski hills in winter, it's very well known, and it's just in West Vancouver, so it's only about 5 miles away from me. There's a history of 100 years of UFO sightings in the whole area, and I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either, but I'm not the least bit shocked. I mean, you're in a really interesting part geographically. I mean, you just mentioned Bigfoot before. You're in the heart of it there, as far as I know. I mean, the Northwest and Vancouver Island, I heard, is quite a beautiful place too, with a lot of strange occurrences.
Vancouver Island's got a lot of UFO sightings. I mean, there's a lot of places I'd like to go, but I know my first objective is to get to that mountain where everything is going, what I'm seeing. They're going behind there. But again, I'd like to take that trek one day. So if anytime you guys want to do a 2 or 3 day trek in a beautiful part of the world and do some, real science and go out there and bring all our equipment and see where these guys are landing, come on down. Because I'm looking for a group of people one of these summers to hike behind Cypress Park and find out where these guys are flying. It's guaranteed we're going to see them. As a matter of fact, it's 100% guaranteed. If you're seeing my videos, that's where they're descending. That's where the hiking trek is. I want to do it. So just, top of mind if you guys are ever thinking of coming out in this area.
I will keep that in mind because I hope to in the next year or so. But you're in a beautiful part of the country, and there's a whole lot going on up there. And
we may have to make a trip of this, Joe.
I would, man. I really would, because there's a whole lot you could be filming up there, and it's a beautiful, beautiful country and all. I'd love to go to where Charles is describing, this area where things are going down over there. You got my attention. I'm sorry, what's that, Charles?
Ken Hurt said he'd come along.
No kidding. Yeah, we know Ken Hurt. Ken, he's made it down here. He was down here in my neck of the woods doing some filming, and he got some pretty good video too.
Yeah, and I tell you, if we have some philanthropists out there that would like to donate a bunch of money for us to do a real good investigation, because I tell you, we can get a lot of people up here and do some great science, and you know where they're landing. It's just like in Allison's area, I mean,
right.
We know where they're there. We just got to get it together, the science and the people out there that are holding on to all the money that we can do some real good investigations.
Well,
I'm going to do it by myself for now, but
I hear you, but maybe one day your efforts will pay off, and someone will hear this and try to do exactly what you're saying, because there are a few places, and as we mentioned, Allison Cruz in Pennsylvania is another one. There's a few interesting places that, in my opinion, if finances were right and it was set up correctly, I really think a good advancement could be made. I truly do.
It's like
Mojo's spot.
Exactly. Well, if we can get in there, and I mean that in a kind way. I know he's protecting what he's seeing, but in all reality, you speak up so you could find the right person to handle such a thing. I understand you don't want to make it a tourist attraction. However, your goal is to find better people to work with, or to at least help you attain the goal you're trying to do.
Yeah, well, if you have a big area to work, it's good to have a bunch of people doing it. But if you have like a little hot spot, and I know guys who have little hot spots and they don't want to give it up and they don't want anybody in there, and I can understand that too. So,
well, and I can see the point, but at the same time, you're not going to advance it because it's just yourself. Look all the challenges I'm having, just myself.
Yeah.
The more the merrier. But he's only 5 hours south of me. I'd like to go out there and visit with him and bring my equipment and help him out because he's got some great stuff there. And, they're flying north. They're coming my way. And it does happen at times when he gets a good sighting, I'm busy like crazy over here. And it's like, is his look like all a bunch of spheres or UFOs all connected to one? Is that what is, invading my area? Because I got tons, 30 or 40 at a time. Are they all jumping off his vehicle? I don't know. I mean, that would be nice to know because, you look at his videos, they're all small spheres.
Right. I've seen things drop from his lights, like as if it's dropping things to the ground. And I think he might even have things on the ground there.
Oh yeah, he's got some great videos. Yeah.
He's got some very interesting things, and but again, people would love to get in there, and he's aware of that, but it's going to take the right people, and maybe I can help you guys out.
I had put it away because I wanted to see if I could talk to this lady, but there was one, but it was like this weird like energy thing. It was like a ball. And Allison's had him over her place, and it's near the electrical wire, but it's looks like it's feeding, and it kind of pops off. But the woman was kind of coming unsnapped, but she was getting some really good footage, and she was pretty far away from it, but she was zoomed right up on it. And the people who know about this type of stuff, and you're like, yeah, that's the real thing. And she didn't put any contact information or exactly where she was filming or something like that. And I was just like, yeah, that's the good stuff. That's the stuff I want to get up on top of. And you run into those type of situations, and you don't get them all the time. But she was getting biblical on it because it was just one of those type of things. You're like, yeah, that's, I can understand why you'd be getting biblical because that's pretty creepy,
Well, you guys remember my energy orb that I caught in 2012 that came right around my balcony?
Oh yeah,
That looks like a plasma orb, of some sort. I've never seen it again.
Wow.
That type of configuration. I mean, maybe because they haven't come that close to me anymore, but I've had the rounds, orbs. Dance and they're orange in color and they're popping around, but nothing like that. So I don't know if that's the same type, and he was just floating around looking for some more electricity. I don't know.
It's pretty darn cool, and I'm glad you mentioned that last one there, Dave. The orb-like things near the electrical wires, because I've seen 2 or 3 of those in the last few years, and I love them because they look unlike other things. It's just very interesting because we know things really aren't flying around near the telephone lines that illuminate in such a way, or electric lines rather. They're just really interesting when I see them like that. They really got my attention.
Just an FYI, I mean, for April, the East Coast right now is kind of starting to pop. I mean, we've got stuff from Virginia and Connecticut and Pennsylvania and the Carolinas. I mean, the East Coast seems to be lighting up for some reason. So heads up, everybody.
And it was kind of quiet. Not just me. The people I usually hear a lot of talk and get a lot of calls or messages, rather, things of that nature. And then it just for the last month, it became very sporadic. It was just here and there. And to be honest with you, a lot of the reports that I was getting were not like the other reports. So there really wasn't much consistency. Just people seeing a few random things, but about a week or so ago, things really changed. And I don't know why.
Same year, on April 1st, it was just like new month. They just came. That's why I sent
really strange. Charles, we're coming near the end of the hour.
Yeah.
And I wanted you to mention where people could find your site. I know you're on Facebook and on YouTube. And also, if I could also get you to answer one last thing.
Sure.
Your personal opinion, and it's really just an opinion, I understand, but did you feel there was any connection with the earthquakes along the West Coast? I know some were down, into South America, I know, but it's all really the one large Pacific tectonic plate. But it was interesting to me because it wasn't just your video, but I saw a few others along the West Coast, and even you mentioned it was, the same day as the earthquake. So do you think there's anything involved there?
Absolutely. Okay. I figure I'm almost certain there is. The reason why I say that because last year when we had the earthquake not far from BC, British Columbia, just out in the water. There was I forget the size. It was a pretty big one, close to Alaska and 7 point something. And I think it was last year or a year and a half ago. Well, that night, the same thing. I saw tons and tons of UFOs, like 30 or 40 in a half an hour period. And so it's happening again. And again, this is rare. I mean, I see them sporadically, but I mean, I can go 10, 20 nights in a row, and I only see that one, armada, like I would call it, of UFOs that come all at once. So for me, April 1st, it was a clear night. Could it be a coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences, It was unusually busy. I mean, I rarely see it like that. So I would say yes, for sure. There must be a connection because it happened once before.
All right, Charles. We're at the end of the hour. I'll plug your sites for you. Mr. Charles Lamoureux, thank you for joining the program. And everyone, stick around. We'll be back at just a few minutes. Thank you, Charles, for joining us.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, David. Thanks,
We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Charles.
Take care. Bye.
Any background noise and wait for the area code to be on before you speak. And don't forget, revolutionary. That helps.
Welcome back to Researchers Radio Live. This is Joe Kiernan. We got Dave Stinnett here, Tim C. We did have Charles Lamoureux. Thank you, Charles, for joining us. I want to tell everyone where we could find Mr. Charles Lamoureux. You could find Charles Lamoureux on Facebook and on YouTube. His last name is spelled Lamoureux. And everyone, go check his page out, especially on YouTube. Check it out. Subscribe to his page, if you will. And when you subscribe to his page, you'll be able to get all of his postings as soon as he posts them. And I'm sure he'll be putting up plenty. He's got some good gear going on, and he's really doing good work, as you heard. So if anyone's in the Vancouver area, anywhere in the vicinity, as you could tell, Charles is. He has no problem setting something up, meeting with a few people, trying to get some better filming. So if anyone could help out or want to just get in there and do what you can, you could contact us here at Researchers Radio Live. You could find also, I'm on Facebook under Joe Kiernan, and on YouTube, Joe Kiernan. You could send messages to me to get to Charles if need be. Anything to help the guy out, because he's really helping a lot of people out, and I'm sure this will even reveal itself a little more as time goes on. So without further ado, I'd like to remind everyone that here at freedomslips.com, we are the world's largest listener-supported radio. And with this being said, we don't run commercials. We don't have to plug any advertisements. We're solely done by deposits and finances made by the goodwill of people. If you can make your way to freedomslips.com, you'll be able to find the donation button and throw a few dollars in the hat, as I always like to say. If you find a program you're enjoying, throw a few dollars in there after each program you enjoy. Get to the website. You could get in the chat room. There's two programs going on at all times, Studio A and Studio B. When you're in the chat room, please type all your questions in capital letters and what studio it's addressed for. So this can get to the host, and most of the hosts do try to get to these questions for everybody. And there's other ways you can contribute, and it's really a two-way street. It's not strictly a donation. you could get something for your donation. There's many different things going on. You could purchase a DVD or a CD of the last year of your favorite host's audio for $30, and 50% of that goes to the station. The other 50% will go to your favorite host. So there's a lot that can be done for your donation, and it helps out the host as well as the station. And the station will continue to be able to provide this service and this level and this platform that we do, and continuously grow. The platform keeps growing. We have over 10 FM stations last time I checked throughout America. You can find us on tunein.com, Live 365 here on freedomslips.com. There's plenty of ways to get a hold of us, and your money goes to a good place, I could assure you. Guys, with that said, Timmy, my man Tim, we got another fabulous donation offer that goes on freedomslips.com, and it involves the favorite seed pack of yours there.
That's right.
Tell me what you like about that seed pack, Tim.
Well, it depends on how much you want to donate. You can donate $60, and you get a single season for a family garden of non-GMO, non-hybrid seeds. You could go up a notch and do the $100 donation. You get a jumbo emergency survival seed pack. And then for a $200 donation, you get the community garden seed pack. Now, each level you have a much bigger package of what you can get, but they're all non-GMO. They store for 20 to 25 years if frozen, 10 to 15 if you keep them in the refrigerator. Basically, just about anything you may need to start over in the event of some kind of apocalypse or whatever you want to, whatever you could muster up.
Well, I mean, you hit it on the head, because anything that goes wrong nowadays doesn't have to be the proverbial apocalypse, but really anything, the mass change would be an apocalypse situation. Even just losing the internet for a few days nationwide I can't even imagine. I mean, it's almost worse than losing electricity at this point, I think.
Well, yeah, no, I don't know about that. The grid goes, we're all in a lot of trouble. And the truth is, when we did have all those storms up here in the Northeast the past couple of years, the preppers really were the only ones that knew. You know, I'll put it to you this way: most of the public was going to the preppers, and they were helping really lead the way and show people this is what you got to do.
Well, it was Dave who pointed it out to me.
That's right.
That a lot of the preppers were helping out in Jersey after the hurricane had made such a mess. I hadn't even realized that.
Right, I remember
these are things I don't consider, you know, and I'm sure other people too. We just see what's going on. You know, we really don't think where's everyone getting their groceries from, because it wasn't always, you know, in a catastrophic event. It wasn't always a Hurricane Katrina style thing, you know. We always assume the next day the sun will be out and people are cleaning up and will be just fine. But you always forget about that when things aren't going to grocery stores and there's no way to ship things in and out. And it's the preppers are key, and they're huge. But it's a non-GMO thing too that's really getting me too.
You know,
I'm really amazed how much GMO seeding is really done.
If you don't want to, you know, if you can't donate the $100 or $200 market, $60 for non-GMO seeds that's something hard to find as well. This day and age, you're going to have pesticides and whatever else you can think of, chemical-wise, in your in your food. It's clean food. It'll produce clean food, and the seeds will also produce more seeds so that you can, you know.
Absolutely.
Go again.
Absolutely. Circle of life, Tim. Circle of life. Plant some seeds. Plant a seed, grow a plant, get 100 more seeds, and it continues on. Guys, you know, I got to jump into this. I want to take this, as you guys know, we're itching to get to a few other topics. But before we do, there's been a recent UFO sighting on the news, on the internet. It's really been everywhere, and so have the theories. The theories have been all over the place, and that's cool. And I'm open to them. And sometimes you hear a few ideas you never heard of before, but of course I'm referring to The deer, I'm going to call it a deer UFO film. It was caught in Mississippi, and I'm going to post this here in the chat room right now. And Dave, would you mind setting this thing up for us? Can you tell us what the situation was? I don't know how familiar you are with this one, if I'm throwing you on the spot on this one. But I know throughout the last 2 days, really, it's been all over the internet. Night Vision has captured this. Dave, are you with me, man? I think I'm having a problem with Dave's mic.
I think his mic's off.
No worries, guys. No worries. We'll have our man back here shortly. Tim.
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you something about this deer UFO.
I saw the newsreel on it, and I thought it was pretty interesting. I always wondered. I mean, first and foremost, you do see some pretty strange things on these videos, that people have for hunting. Really, is what they use those types of cameras for, the motion sensor type cameras. But the fact that there were two lights coming from what appeared to be one. I mean, it really looked like a truck that was about 30 or 40 feet off the ground, shining lights onto the deer. And then there was another light coming from seemingly nowhere.
Yeah, I had to look at it a few times myself to try to get some answers on it, and I think we might have things straightened out here with our mics. Sorry about this, folks. Dave, are you with me, my man? Maybe not quite yet. I'm trying here, though. We'll see what we can do here. Dave, I'm trying to fix you up here, my man. But folks, the deer caught on the night vision cam. I know that the report states that there's no lights that illuminate from the camera, and as Dave and I were discussing, we know that these night vision cameras do send out a light signal. They do send out an IR light. And yeah, I hear you now, Dave. I'm sorry about this with the mic. Are you there?
No, that's all right.
Oh, I hear you
hear
just
me now,
fine.
Joe? Yeah,
I do. Sorry, everyone. I'm broadcasting live from the moon. Dave, we were just talking about that UFO, the deer UFO video, and we got you back just in time because, as you and I were discussing, the big claim on it is there's no lights that come from the camera, where we know an IR signal is given out, but it doesn't reach as far as, let's say, Charles IR laser. It will illuminate some of these cameras, say night vision, good up to 10 feet or good up to 20 feet. However, it's still sending out an IR beam. Where are you with this?
It's kind of a tough call because if you see the area in the daytime where they filmed it, that patch of woods is a pretty thick patch of woods, so I'm not sure what could be behind that, but it does look like a couple of orbs, but the trail cams do have lights on top of them that when the proximity sensor is kicked on, it's a pretty good illumination. So, and the picture is being snapped at the height of that illumination. So I'm not sure how far that beam goes, because there's one deer and you kind of see it off in the distance a little bit, and it's bathed in some pretty good light. So you think, well, how much light does it take to create that effect? Because that's a lot of light. But that may just be the strobes on the on the trail cam. The other thing is that at the end they have the UFO is flying off, and it does look like there is something there. That could be an artifact, so it's kind of a tough call. I'm usually a bit more hypercritical than most people, but that's a strange picture. Let's put it this way: if they keep that trail cam there, if they keep that trail cam there, and they get another instance where a deer steps in front of it, and they get that same artifact, that same thing, then I would probably dismiss it because you're not going to get the same thing twice. It just won't happen. And if you get it 3 times, then you should feel confident that that's a camera artifact problem.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd like to see more images from that location, that camera, as time goes on. Being skeptical in this degree as you are, as it appears, I wish I had the whole memory card from that camera to see if there were any other pictures that were slightly leaning towards one degree or another. Where maybe there was a little bit of a mist that was in and out that night. Because it's very strange with the IR. You don't.
Well, if you remember, like I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, maybe it was last year, but they had all the Google cams they had, I guess, that were at street level. Like they're all showing these weird, like little pink UFOs, and everybody's going, "Look, it's a UFO." And I'm just like, "Yeah, but it's about the size of a shoe, and it's on a sidewalk, And they if the light hits these things properly, anything can happen. So it'd be interesting to just see how that particular. It looks like they have a lot of deer there. I would suspect that if this was genuine, they won't be seeing much of it. But if they do get a few of these, then we pretty much know what's going on.
There was
one. I'll tell you.
Go ahead, Tim.
To say one thing about the guy they did a little interview with him, and he was very modest about it. I have to say, he doesn't really make any claims about the video itself. Just the fact that it was very odd,
Yeah, he wasn't ready to jump on the alien bandwagon. He just thought it was weird. Exactly.
The only thing in that video that really, made me want to watch it 2 or 3 more times to get a good look at it was, I know at one point in it, I guess looking from the camera, it looks like a light source comes from the left. That right. At one point a deer is looking over that way, as if something's grabbing the attention. I know, well, I don't know, but they say a deer would not notice the IR. Now, I don't know that. I don't know if I'm going to look into that, but nonetheless, it did look like the deer in one image. It looked like it was catching a light source from a different direction, and but it was really cool. It's really cool. Who knows? It could be just what we're looking for. But again, like Dave said, time will tell. Hopefully this person will put up more pictures in the future. Hopefully helping himself or helping some of the skeptics. Either or, follow-up is always huge. Let's move on here. There's another video we want to quickly talk to before we wrap up the UFO topic tonight, and it's a video from Rhonda UFO. And she's a friend of all of ours, too, and a friend of Allison's, we know. And she's always done good work, and her research is thorough and should be noted as so. Tim, you want to take us through this video? What did you notice about the video?
Well, first off, it's a daylight video.
Okay.
Which, number one, that's always a plus.
Yeah, it's a 1%er.
Right. And the fact that they're going as fast as they are, whatever these objects are, that caught my attention there. And they seemed to, there was so much activity in that one spot, because I don't believe the camera really moved that much from what I remember. It was pretty much located in the same spot, the sky. But they were just zipping through in every different direction. Yeah, it was really good film.
Yeah, I thought they were pretty cool. How they were going different directions, and at times there were several of them. It's not normally what I see when someone shows daylight things involving clouds. It's unique to me. Dave, have you seen things like this before?
Yes, I'm going to have to go the totally opposite side of this conversation, I think,
okay.
Because the camera's the camera's getting full sun, and there's a lot of little stuff floating around and buzzing around, and it looks like bugs being hit by sunlight to me. It doesn't really look like UFOs.
Well, that would explain the speed.
Well, this I've seen similar videos like this before, and it turned out to be something very similar to what Dave was saying. What I saw, and I'm not going to say it was this one. There was a video someone was showing over a month period or so. We're showing something very similar to that. However, it didn't appear to be up to the clouds. It was just with a blue sky background. And what it turned out being was something like they were filming over their house at a certain angle where the sun was beneficial. And what it was going on was on the edge of their roof line of their house, they had some spider webs, some just long, strandy ones that were just kind of blowing around in the wind. And every now and again, the sun was catching them just right. And it gave the appearance that they were doing just that. But it was spider webs. It was. And this person no longer posts videos.
Well, every now and then you have the good ones, and like like I said, when you got a hold of one, you got a hold of one, it, and you have the ones in the clouds will be there, and you have that like white ball, and it's kind of cruising in, ducking back in and back out, and you're like, yeah, that's one, but that's didn't really, because the first couple of runs I looked at that video. I'm just like, well, what am I looking at here? Because you have to really get up on it. You have to get the big screen, and you're like, oh, okay, no.
Yeah, well, I have a feeling we'll see more of it.
Rhonda's in that hot area, so she's got a lot of stuff going around at nighttime, and I believe Allison's got footage of some stuff in daytime as well, but probably not some of the better footage I've seen.
Right on. All right. Well, do either of you have any other UFOs you want to hop onto before we take this a little farther?
Well, Bill Clinton was on Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Kimmel stuck him for the UFO thing, but he didn't cop to anything.
Man, he sure did, and I'm disappointed to say my anticipations this evening were to play a small clip from it, but I was having a little problem with it prior to the show, so I just turned that whole program off just to be sure we weren't going to have much of a problem here. But my effort was there. But, I did see this interview with Jimmy Kimmel. He really didn't reveal much, but it was entertaining, right? It was, would he tell the truth, really, if he went to Area 51 and saw things that he's not disclosed to say? No, absolutely not. He wouldn't. We
don't trust that guy.
No, and his chief of staff wrote a book, and basically he said that Clinton had him do two things when he got in: go to the intelligence people and basically ask them who killed JFK and what happened at Roswell, and he basically came back saying, "Yeah, they didn't give me nothing." So
right.
Yeah. Well. Hey, but there is one other sighting I'd like for everybody to check out.
Cool.
CBS 6 in Virginia. The South Park Mall. But if you put South Park Mall, Virginia UFO, I'm sure it'll come up for YouTube. But there's a storm coming up, and I guess this girl took a picture of this storm cloud. But when they blew it up, and it looks like some of the stuff that you get in your areas, but it's like two triangles, but with the bottoms facing each other. But there's two sets of three. But it's a really interesting piece where she caught it. It could be stuff in the clouds, but again, it's in some sort of formation. So you're like, man, that's a pretty good, interesting little clip there.
I like the ones that are involved with the storm front or sometimes in a lightning storm. I really like those because just like what we were talking with Charles, sometimes I think a lot of natural occurrences are involved. However, not necessarily directly involved, whereas I don't think the earthquakes are releasing some sort of, lack of a better term, swamp gas sort of effect that people are filming.
No, but we know tectonic plates, when they rub against each other, they emit this type, it's like ball lightning they talk about. You do get some sort of little plasma burst, and that seems to be kind of known at this point in the game.
Right,
but they don't fly around and act intelligent,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. They wouldn't respond to an IR laser, which is...
Just to butt in real quick, I want to make sure if anyone does do the search for the South Park, Virginia UFO, make sure you type in Virginia. Otherwise, you're going to get something completely different.
You get Cartman with the anal probe satellite dish.
That's right.
Well, either way, they're going to both be entertaining videos.
I have that T-shirt, actually.
Very cool. Well, guys, I'm chomping at the bit here, being the history nerd that I I am. This involves a gentleman in Indiana. And of course, he's dubbed the real life Indiana Jones. I'm going to read this short article I posted in the chat room. A similar article, the one I posted in the chat room, is different than this one. But the one that I posted, it has a bunch of pictures to go with it. I thought it would be a better one for the eyes. I'm going to just read a few parts from here, and hopefully we could discuss this between the three of us, because there's a few really cool key points that are mentioned here. It starts here. This was just this week, where in Indiana, this is April 4th. So a team of law enforcement officials, including FBI agents, swooped down on a local rural home in Indiana that houses a bizarre collection of artifacts from around the world. They've never seen a collection like this. It is very similar to a small museum with fine artifacts. The gentleman involved was a very interesting guy to begin with. He grew up in Indiana. He was an engineer through school, but he joined the U.S. Army, and this was during World War II. And he did his tour, and World War II was really just the beginning of it for this guy. He's an interesting guy because in World War II, he ended up working with, not directly with, but involved in the developments of the atomic bomb, and he got to work with such luminaries as Oppenheimer and Einstein and Fermi. He was at one point, and I these stories never get old. He was stationed so close to some atomic bomb testings that he suffered partial hearing loss, of course. And I'm amazed the guy lived to 91 years old when you hear these things, that they were so close to these atomic bombs back in the day. But the guy did a lot of stuff, man. He traveled the world. He made an 11,000-mile hike across Australia, which really blows me away. I don't even understand how it's possible. But I could tell you a few things here, guys, that are just outright amazing. Here's just a few things that were mentioned that this guy has. He has a full-size, authentic Egyptian sarcophagus, a life-size, real, genuine terracotta warrior from China, which is astounding to me because the terracotta warriors in China, I know from the museum standpoint, they lend out these terracotta warriors to certain museums for exhibits worldwide. However, China's really tight about these things. At no point throughout any year, at any given point, they never have more than 6 of these terracotta warriors outside their country. They keep a real close leash on these things. So how this guy has one in Indiana, I have no idea. Here's another awesome monument this gentleman has. A rifle used during the Custer's famous Last Stand in 1876, which is astounding because there's really not much, there's really nothing tied historically to that battle. All those guys died. There wasn't much of a story. And how this guy got a gun from there is beyond me. He also has a genuine shrunken head from South America. He has jade artifacts from the Ming Dynasty. He has a chunk of concrete from Adolf Hitler's bunker. He has an anaconda snakeskin that measures 60 feet long. 18 meters, 60 feet. He has many Aztec figurines and many Native American arrowheads and tons of other artifacts. He's known to collect everything and everywhere he goes. He's been arrested one time near some ruins in Egypt and again by some ruins in South America. This was a long time ago. However, what this has led to was on Tuesday, April 1st, when the FBI and local agencies stormed in, they really went in full force. They barricaded the guy's whole entire street and have set up so many tents connecting to his garage. I guess he had a lot of artifacts in his basement. They have several tents where if you were hauling artifacts out, you would have to go through a multiple series of tents. And he also has a few outbuildings, a large older barn. Likewise, there's many tents attached to those barns. And one would have to ask why all of the barricades to surround the area. Maybe he had a few things that were dangerous that they're not mentioning. I don't understand.
Yeah, Joe, because
go ahead, Dave.
Because I was gonna say because a 91-year-old former Army World War II vet and Christian missionary is a real threat to, that kind of force. I mean, they went crazy out there.
Oh, they went all out. I only see things like this when there's like a serial killer, where they're looking for bodies. I mean, they really have multiple tents set up and
dozens of fully armed and ununiformed agents, blacked out SUVs, roadblocks, 91 years old. All adds up, yeah.
I mean, there could be things there that are highly desirable. I understand there's things there that are, maybe of danger to some degree. I don't know. But it's
probably just value, Joe. Probably some things of great value.
Yeah. Knowledge. You might have.
Well, as I said, the professor of anthropology. The professor of anthropology at the Indiana University, Purdue, said he's never seen a collection like this before in his life, even some of the largest museums. So somebody's going to get a piece of the action.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm just by the little details are astounding. Like a 60-foot anaconda skin. I'm going to just guess that's a record. I'm just going to guess we don't have one of those. That is serious. I don't hear of 30-foot anacondas. You hear the legends of, but I mean, 30 feet is gigantic. 60 feet? My God. I mean, really, where'd this guy get that thing?
Those are the ones that eat the alligators.
Oh my goodness, 60 feet. Wow, I would love to see some photographs of this skin. But in fairness to this guy, it wasn't like he was an outright hoarder. The guy, he was doing like little museum tours for local schools and things like that.
Yeah, he was like the local Indiana Jones. He went to faraway places and collected stuff, and evidently he preached a bit. And
You know what I have a problem with, and I can't take credit for this. I read it online. Someone had made a comment about this. I don't remember who it was, but basically, he's been doing this for decades upon decades before any of the laws were put into place to really make it illegal to do this type of thing for repatriation of all these artifacts and whatnot, bring them back to their countries. This stuff, all this was done. It should be grandfathered. He should have no problem.
Well,
and it's
but that's basically what the feds. Yeah, the feds have said he may have knowingly or unknowingly, done some of the repatriation stuff, but they're going to have to go through all the artifacts to see exactly what he's got.
I'm going to do my best to follow this one because I want to see what they release, what he had, or what he's going to say. If they put out a list of an inventory list of what they acquire, and he says that's only half of it, I'm probably not going to be too happy about it because.
Well, let's hope he has a secret hunting cabin that the feds don't know about.
Well, I'll tell you, he seems like an interesting guy because from the few pictures I saw, not only does the guy have a very old hand-carved dugout canoe, from a whole tree from South America. I don't even how do you get this home? How do you get an Egyptian sarcophagus to Indiana or
you don't just put that on the roof.
Warrior, right? How did this guy do this stuff? But I'll tell you, in the pictures I saw of his house, he has one of those old school satellite dishes, not a mini dish. He's got like a real dish in his yard. He's got what looks like some antennas of sorts on the tops of his flagpoles. So, he seems to be a pretty busy older man.
Well, I'll be the first, probably not the first to say it, but whoever decided to storm this guy and ruin his life and his collection, shame on you. Whoever it was, whoever made that decision, shame on you.
I agree. I agree, and to use that much force was just absurd.
Ridiculous.
You know,
Right.
somebody could have went to the front door.
That's what it is, too, right? I mean,
Yeah, and if they had
not
called him,
necessary.
or really, yeah, I guarantee he would have allowed them to come in and look at his gorgeous. You know, I mean,
right?
Seriously, what?
Right. I would like to think so too. I mean, the guy genuinely, he to me, it seems like he genuinely has a passion and a care for these things.
I mean, it's all the, if you look at the photos, that's everything was well maintained. It's not like he just had it all stacked and there was oh yeah, something might get damaged because it's not in the right environment for these types of artifacts. That's BS because it was everything was well maintained.
I just find
I was about to say.
Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say a lot of people don't realize too. During the turn of the century, here in the United States and in England and Europe, the big fad was to get one of these sarcophaguses with the mummy in it, and to have like an unwrapping party. And there was many of these that were around. So getting a sarcophagus, through the right channels, or somebody who had one of these things or had one of those type of families, isn't terribly unheard of. So things can be gotten.
Not to mention his friends. People that he spent a lot of time with were very prominent figures. So
Well,
yeah, you're probably right.
I would imagine so. I mean, like, how are you in the position to acquire a gun from Custer's Last Stand, or more importantly, like, how do you acquire a chunk of cement from Hitler's tomb, Hitler's last bunker there?
Can you verify it?
Well,
anybody can have a chunk of concrete. What's the verification behind it is what I need to know.
Correct. But let's just say the gentleman happened to be there. He's just, who is this guy if he happens to be there to acquire such a thing firsthand?
Interesting.
I mean, he's. Listen, I don't know much about it except the few articles I read. However, it did put him. I wish they elaborated a little bit more on what his stand was, or what his purpose was in the interaction with Oppenheimer and Einstein in the development of these bombs. Did he happen to know anyone like these two before mentioned in Germany? During World War II. Who knows? Who knows? The guy clearly did pretty good if he was really just military overall, and after that was able to travel the world so extensively and acquire these things. I mean, these things take money too, I'm sure.
But like you said, Joe, I mean, he used to have tours with kids, school kids, and entertaining them on a big, pipe organ, and sitting around telling everybody about his tales of intrigue and this, that, and the other. So it wasn't like this. He was like local color. Let's put it that way. He's just one of the local guys but it was, they're saying there, dozens of armed agents rolled into this guy's place, and it's just like, I'm pretty sure a door knock and a
yeah, man,
they went in
strong.
Conversation could have gotten that accomplished.
I think so too. I think so too. Because they said there was a lengthy investigation leading up to it, and all of that just adds swords to me, saying you investigated this thing thoroughly, and you still felt the need to go in that strong. It's a 90-year-old man. I'm sure it's a little easier way to go about it, unless there were things they wanted to do discreetly, no warning, just run in, set up tents, and take things from the garage into the back of a truck without being able
anybody
to
seeing.
Yeah.
That's more sounds more logical.
Unfortunately, that is what sounds more likely. I'd like to think it's not the way it goes, but I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say this guy's gonna go and state he has some missing artifacts.
I hope to God that somebody stands up for this man. I hope that he has. I mean, if he's got this many, let's just say he had some very powerful friends when he was younger. Let's just hope that the powers that be get a phone call that maybe makes them shake in their boots a little bit. But it's not going to happen.
No, probably not. Not in his lifetime, at least.
Let's put it this way, guys. If they're true antiquities, then he may or may not have a problem. You know what I'm saying? He can easily repatriate that stuff and say, all right, well, just take it. It's not that big of a deal to me. I'm 91. But if it's him saying that this chunk of concrete's from Hitler's bunker and he can't back it up, I'm not really sure what the feds are going to say, and I'm not sure what kind of collection he's going to have, because there's been instances where, say, in one of my former occupations, I helped out these people on an island that didn't have a lot of medical technology. and they would carve me ornate walking sticks,
Wow.
and they would be sent to me. So, those are quote unquote artifacts of sorts, especially these particular type of ones. But, it could be that type of stuff for all we know.
Yeah, and I hope I hear more of it. I want to see. I'm interested. I want to see more of what the guy had. I wish I found out about this guy in a different way. I wish there was a nice thing written about him, or I just really wish it went a whole other way, where everything he's done could be appreciated and shown, and I mean, rightfully so if things belong to others. And it was done after these laws were put into place. Well, that's a matter to be addressed then. But I don't think it should be a full onslaught like this, and then decide what things are what. I think there would have been a whole other way to go about it. Because again, I'm just stuck on that snakeskin, man. I want to see this 60-foot animal. I mean, that is ridiculous, man. 60 feet. That's something. I hope pictures come out about that, because that's a ridiculous claim. I'd also like to know if that's a record. But guys, I gotta tell you, man, did you guys have a chance to look at, last week I wanted to talk about it, but we didn't get around to it. It was pertaining to the DNA coding done from King Tut. You gentlemen seen anything like this?
Yeah, some high percentage of Englishmen.
Oh yeah, well,
DNA.
European. Yeah, most European men.
Right, European.
It's pretty cool. A high level in the Spain, France area, like around Spain and France. You're looking at the highest percentage, like up to between 60 and 70% of men in that region have the same genetic markers that go to King Tut. So they would be a descendant in one degree or another. Now, this DNA, this flaw, a marker, if you will, in the DNA, they put all these people around Spain and France. This goes back 3,000 years. So they know when this marker pretty much came about, and there's a name for it, a code, an R1B1A2, and it's obviously very popular with European men. Now, it's not just France and Spain. It is Western Europe. Tim, you said it, English, even into Ireland, and into Holland some. But what was really interesting was the offset of it, saying that in modern day Egypt, however, when testing the males in Egypt, only 1% have this gene. So it shows a big transformation. And I remember a few months ago, a similar release was done with the genetic studies, and it was involving Greece, pertaining to a few older people, obviously, graves that they had found intact in Lower Greece, because in ancient Athens times and going back to those days, they were famous for burning their dead. So it's not all that often you find tombs. But they did the same testing, and that was like 0.7 or 0.8% of modern day Greeks have any tie. This was amazing. Have any tie to just Greeks from 1,200 years ago. So they were saying just about 1%. Over the last 1,200 years, are just completely different people. And,
well, it's strange, Joe, is that I was watching television sometime this weekend, and one of those ancestry websites pops up, and basically what they tell you is that you give us a sample of your blood, and we'll tell you where your ancestry came through by your genetic code. And I was just like, wow, they've really worked this up.
Wow.
It wasn't like they're not looking through paperwork now. They're going on the big scale. They're tracking your DNA through the ages. Where you're actually from.
Yeah.
It's just like that's interesting.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a few world databases of this DNA and genealogy. Not for hire like some of the websites are. And I was kind of working with one, not directly, but as you guys know, with Dr. Garner, she has a direct contact with someone who has access to the largest database of all these things, and it really helped me out huge. I can tell you that this person has got me back to approximately the year 800, which is really astounding. But not so much with names yet. But I have my family tree with names now, going back into the 1400s, which is absolutely amazing because
Nice.
a year
That is
ago
pretty cool.
I didn't know squat beyond my grandparents. You know.
Yeah, I've tried to go back with that website, actually, ancestry.com, just myself, and I haven't gotten very far. But the like you guys were talking about, the DNA, actually, it's not that expensive. It's only $100.
Yeah, you can do it for
really.
$100. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some people that are a little fearful of putting their DNA on file, but
Right. Well, like it's not already on file.
right. Unfortunately, I know mine is.
I was gonna say my mom was the genealogist of the family, so I was dragged through a many archive and a many graveyard, as a kid.
Wow.
So,
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think that's pretty cool.
My mom comes from one of the oldest Scottish houses, and we're direct descendants from Charlemagne. So
wow. I think you might have mentioned that to me before.
Yes, he did. And I mistook it for another ancient history person, but I'm not going to go into that.
You didn't mistake Charlemagne for a charlatan, did you?
No.
All right. Don't do that to my man Dave. Well, I'll even mention another thing that for people at home that might not even know this is when I was working with Dr. Garner, and this is where the genealogy really came in really helpful, was I was stuck on a particular person in history in the 1400s, and this person was supposed to be in prison, was supposed to be held prisoner for 11 years. And there's two sides of the story, because I was then researching on my normal end, which led me there with Albrecht Dürer and that whole crew. And what was interesting was I was seeing two different stories, and I said, this is strange. Let's find out more. And then it turned out that this person that was imprisoned for 11 years might really not have been imprisoned, because while being a prisoner, seemed to be quite chummy with the king. First of all, he was prisoner in the king's house, which people really don't know, but he was prisoner in the king's house. And it was either, history isn't so clear, but it was either the king's sister or it was his cousin. But nonetheless, the prisoner had a relationship with the king's, let's say, cousin, and had two children while a prisoner. And when he was released from prison,
it's a good prison life, yeah.
Yeah, he continued to live there, and he was given himself a castle. And he raised his two children with the king's cousin. And this person, of course, is who we all know today as Dracula, Vlad Tepes. And it really confused me because I needed to know who these kids were, because the kids were already my main focus. Finding out their father was Vlad Tepes kind of really aggravated me, just because there's so many stories and so many books written about the guy already. It's kind of hard to tell anyone anything about it, because it's something that's developed into a whole other entity. However, what people don't I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, no, the real Vlad the Impaler story is an interesting story in itself, but
it is.
It's far from the myth that's been put around it.
Yeah, you're damn right, man, because it turns out that the king's house that he was under, King Matthias, this was the philosopher king. He was a real good dude in my readings, and here's what went down is, regardless of Vlad, King Matthias for almost 40 years was printing propaganda to scare people, I guess, not to come into his area. But under King Matthias's rule, in his house, and he had translators doing books and paintings, and they were literally producing this propaganda and sending it all throughout Europe. He was the first one to pen Dracula, and what people don't understand is King Matthias actually had a play written, like a drama play, based on Dracula, and he was having it performed for entertainment while Dracula was still alive. So this wasn't years later. This was something that was going on then. And so I had to find out about the kids, and then the kids were easier because there's good historical record on them. In 1535, Emperor Frederick II gave both of these sons hereditary right. And this was odd because until then in Europe, you couldn't become royalty unless you were already. They didn't just establish new names and new territories for people at this point. And the two sons were both given nobility. They were given their hereditary rights and made it and put it in the books as if they've been noble for 1,000 years. It was to be taken no different. And this is when the country of Hungary now has two kings, and people really don't question it all that much. Although one was kind of just a paper king with entitlements and all the tax breaks that came with it at the time. But I needed to find out a little more of these people because it was kind of messing up my studies directly. And I found an excellent report that was done in an interview in 2012 in England, in London. And it was a fantastic interview with King Charles, and he gave the whole breakdown. I'm sorry, Prince Charles gave the whole breakdown, saying that he and his mother, the Queen, were direct descendants from these two sons, and also obviously Dracula. And Prince Charles said he was a direct descendant of Dracula, and this was new to me, and I would have never come across this had I not been working on the other stuff. But it's interesting how many of these nobles have stories that go back with their DNA that people don't even know. And I think there's going to be a lot of this releasing of what bloodlines are really what, because they're real close to really nailing out all these little genome differentials that'll really put people where they need to be. But it's quite interesting that it takes all this time till now to learn that the English family comes right from these two people, which is ironic. It's pretty crazy because where'd these two kids come from? And I know who their parents were, but why the nobility? Why the title? That's really.
Vlad was a big man on campus in his day.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget,
Yeah, he was.
Vlad was battling the Muslims, and he was brutal.
Yeah.
When the Muslims came, when the Muslims came across one of his impalings, they were like, ooh.
Yeah. Tim, go ahead. What were you saying, buddy?
Sky Pilot in the chat room.
Yeah.
He posted something saying Bush and Kerry are related to the Impaler, and then he posted a link which I did not click on yet, saying something about
he's dead right.
Societies and his tree.
Yeah, Sky Pilot is dead right about that. They're a little bit more distant. However, yeah, these are the same. This is the same family. This is the absolute same family. I mean, I can't say this for sure, but what it looks like in the work I'm doing is, if I had to guess today who really was Vlad Dracula, I would say that it's most likely that his family was of high nobility or high situation in the hierarchy of power in Constantinople before that fell. And I would imagine his father, I don't know, a few of these people appear at this time because Constantinople fell in 1453. And it's real interesting how a few of these people in Eastern Europe at that time kind of just appear. And I'm really not my research isn't going over in that direction, but maybe one day I'll return to that. But What people, Dave, we talked.
A lot of people don't realize.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, a lot of people don't realize that the eastern leg of the empire lasted for 1,000 years longer than the western leg of the empire. So.
That's right. And, all of these people went somewhere from Constantinople. This was a major city. I understand there were a lot of deaths, but, the takeover of the city wasn't a bloody battle as we would think. It was kind of like the end of the rope. It was kind of like, your days come, you can't pay back your bills. It was they had a deal of debt that had been built up, and it was kind of taken out from under them. It was more of like, pay up now or you're gonna have to leave, and everyone left. Yeah, a little bit.
Just be pertinent to the conversation.
Yeah, well, the odd thing is, it seems like a lot of these people are the same family. It's the things that were going on then are going on now, and it's a funny thing, man. It was because while I was in there too, I know we're running out of time here at the show, but I was just reading all these things, how advanced Constantinople really was, prior to its fall. And how a lot of the geniuses were already coming out 20, 30 years prior to it falling. And I know Lorenzo de' Medici, for 20 years, he had this one gentleman, Alberti. His whole job was just scouring the known world for ancient texts, ancient Latin texts, and he was trying to acquire all of them. And this is a direct descendant of Prince Charles as well. So everyone, thank you for tuning in this week. The show went quick, and we hope to catch you next week. We got some good guests coming up, so stay tuned, and we'll see you next week.
Good night, all.
Good night, guys.
Listening to Revolution Radio.
Enter into a world unseen on Raven Star's Witching Hour. You will encounter eclectic topics from the realm of spirit brought into our matrix of truth. With your host, the Solaris Blue Raven. Solaris will bring you an array of unique guests covering topics from ghostly spirits to amazing anomalies, covert technology, UFOs, and shadowy global events.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Saturdays, midnight till 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Let the magic rise.
Hi, this is Bo.
And this is Rocco.
And the Bo and Rocco Show is here to offer insight into legal and lawful remedies. Our goal is to remain free and help others remain free in an ever-increasing police-like state. With the help of our guests, we try to answer questions such as what went wrong and what can we do about it.
So tune into Revolution Radio at www.freedomslips.com Wednesday nights, 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to listen to the Bo and Rocco Show.
You don't need to expect us.
We're already here.
Revolution Radio.
Every Tuesday evening on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, we present our goddess spiritual warrior, Kathy Bilski.
I command. I call to the architect of the universe's divine creators and ask for permission to quantum leave the world in all life forms on all planes and dimensions.